Sure, absolutely. And, worldwide we're seeing a lot of movement in the IMS front, particularly with some of the new entrants into the market. In the U.S., there's been a great deal of activity around the 700 megahertz spectrum, the AWS spectrum, and all of the new entrants that are coming in, particularly the cable providers, broadband providers that are now offering quad plays and triple plays. And the infrastructure that they've chosen to go with has been the SIP IMS infrastructure. The large players in the U.S., at least, the incumbent carriers, have not yet chosen which messaging, let's say, infrastructure they want to use. There's some movement around RCS. There's some movement around Volga. There is also, of course, some IMS players. So it's an interesting space to be in right now. As this industry continues to progress, we're seeing a lot of movement in the space. One of the neat things that can be done with some of this newer technology as opposed to some of the legacy technologies, the SMSCs, the MMSCs, things along those lines, is kind of the concept of messaging anywhere, be it to the home phone, be it to the set-top or DVR box, be it to your IM client, or be it to the traditional handset. So we've seen a lot of movement in the U.S. and North America really as a whole, and I think we're starting to see some movement based on some of the discussions we've had recently here around it. Yeah, I think there are a number of technologies that people are looking at. RCS is getting a lot of play, especially in Europe, where there have been a lot of trials ongoing and things along those lines. I guess from our perspective, the way we look at it is we provide access for our carriers to all of those. So a traditional SIP, IMS, RCS, and Volga. We think that it's real early right now to lock yourself into a technology before these protocols have kind of been vetted and we find out where the winners are. So our strategy has been to provide platforms that support all of those protocols. As far as the movement goes, I think the movement is happening for a number of reasons. First of all, the siloed kind of technologies that carriers have deployed right now make it very difficult to add new services. In addition, it's very expensive to maintain those because you have to have a core group of people who handle SMS, who handle MMS, and they're generally different engineering teams, so it's very expensive for the carrier. I think one of the main impetuses for the next generation is consolidating all of that, getting rid of all of those silos. I think there's a lot of cost savings for the carrier, and you get the added benefit of being able to offer new services and differentiated services quite a bit faster. What we think is that the key to, particularly as being a messaging provider, the key to the migration is not to break ubiquity. In other words, SMS is still the king of data services, and one of the main reasons for that is that you don't need to know anything about the other person, what carrier they're with, even where they are in the globe, frankly. And that's what makes that network very, very useful for folks. So the key from our perspective is as we start to migrate across to these new technologies that we don't break. So our infrastructure, our architecture is designed around that. It's designed around the fact that we want to support multiple protocols, be they legacy, TDM, GSM, whatever the protocols are, and the next generation, so that you can migrate slowly. Because let's face it, it takes a long time to migrate. Even when we moved from GSM into the some of the 2.5G, 3G kind of things, there's still a lot of the old technologies that are out there. It takes years to migrate off. So it's absolutely critical that the carrier has a strategy in order to maintain that connectivity between their users. Otherwise, the users will find another way to communicate, frankly. Yeah, and I think in the U.S. the movement has been primarily from the new entrants. They don't have the legacy infrastructure to worry about, so it's easier for them to just implement this from the get-go. It also makes it very much easier if they're already VoIP providers to their subscribers to go directly into that type of an environment. From the incumbent carrier side, I think that from a VAS perspective at least, I don't think there's very much difference between where the carriers are in CALA and where the carriers are in the U.S. They're implementing, Verizon, for instance, well known, is implementing LTE, starting to roll that out, but primarily what they're going to use that for is data access right now, and they are in the process of formulating their strategies as far as what they want to do with their next generation stuff. So I think the the idea is to get the LTE network up, or the WiMAX network, or whatever technology is chosen, and use that as a broadband access as a starter, and maintaining what you have already on the voice side, and then migrating across slowly till you get to an all-IP solution. But that might be a few years down the road before we get all the way there. Yes, absolutely. In the U.S., certainly the best-known player is Clearwire, who is a WiMAX provider. They have gone all SIP and all IMS, all VoIP on their entire network. So they're definitely pushing the envelope. The incumbent carriers have a little more invested, so they're moving a little slower to make sure they protect the investment that they've already made.
Let's discuss very specific on messaging. Just a couple of tips of things that we're seeing on the market. And this is just a no answer, question and answer. Do you think that social networking is killing email and favoring SMS?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I don't think it's killing email necessarily, but it is certainly, the social networking aspect of it is certainly boosting the SMS traffic. It continues to grow. I mean, it's amazing that this, week after week, month after month, more and more and more and more. So it's definitely a communication method that I think is preferred at this point.